Hello and welcome to today's episode of Platinum Talks Wealth. Emmy-nominated journalist Jennifer Rogers Markwell changed gears in her television career when she realized the need to help women make sense of investing. She regularly hosts educational workshops to empower women and others to take charge of their financial future. Now, join your host, Platinum Wealth Management President Jennifer Rogers Markwell, as she leads us into the world of money memories, money infidelities, and how these can mold our relationship with our personal finances as adults. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, and thanks for joining us on the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. I'm Jennifer Rogers Markwell, and today I'm joined by Carrie Rich. Carrie, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, tell me all about you and why you do what you do.
So I am very lucky to wake up every day and try to make the world a better place through business and supporting high potential leaders and companies across the planet who are using business for good. And when I was in school, there was no topic of social entrepreneurship to study. And so I really thought the business of helping people, the closest I could get to that was through healthcare. And that's what I decided to pursue coming out of school. And really my boss at that time was the CEO of a big health system. And he sponsored me and pulled me up. And I thought to myself, how lucky am I to get to work for the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company? There are all kinds of people across the country and across the world who have a very strong work ethic and also a moral compass. And if we could combine those emerging high potential leaders with seasoned business executives and them together, it could be a catalyst for good. And so that became what's today the Global Good Fund, which has supported social entrepreneurs across the world using their businesses for impact.
That's hugely awesome. And just doing research on you, it's very impressive that you are doing what you're doing in such a heart-centric manner too.
Thank you.
So when you were a younger person, is this kind of the path that you were foreseeing for yourself? Like, how did you end up kind of getting to where you're at now?
I actually wanted to be a doctor originally in high school. And then I was fortunate to get exposure to what's involved in caring for people in a clinical setting. And my takeaway was that our system is broken. And really, it's the determinants of health that cause people to enter the health system in the first place. And by determinants, I mean access to quality education, a safe home to live in, access to nutritious foods, access to fair work that's paid fairly. And so these are the determinants that decide and predict whether someone ends up in a healthcare setting in the first place or not. And I went to thinking, do I really want to spend every day caring for one patient at a time? Is that really where my greatest gifts are? Or would I be better suited to try to build, problem solve, and build solutions that address the determinants that prevent people from ending up in the health system in the first place and live a really high quality of life?
Was there one story or moment that made you pivot to where you're at now?
So my boss at Inova Health System was a wonderful mentor and is on the board of the Global Good Fund to this day. And I had gone to him at age 25 and said, I'm so lucky that I get to work for someone like you. How about all these other people across the planet who will never have access to the CEO of a multi-billion company to help guide their leadership development? What about them? And at the time, he told me it would be good for me to go back to doing my job. And I put my head down and worked hard and listened. And then for my 26th birthday, he instilled in me this idea that we could actually build a solution. And that's what ultimately became the Global Good Fund. And really, he has never stopped taking bets on me to take bets on other people. And that's evolved into a global organization working in 70 countries around the planet, impacting 11.6 million lives to date.
That's amazing. I mean, hearing that, you probably share that, but to hear that, that's so amazing. Do you still find yourself kind of stepping back and being like, oh my gosh, like how great is this?
I pinch myself on a daily basis because I know I'm fortunate, and I think there's a piece to building business solutions that are financially viable and socially impactful, that comes with resilience and doing the best we can at tasks that are somewhat administrative. And just to give you an example of what that means, I met the CEO of this health system by doing very menial jobs in the hospital setting. I was pushing the snack cart, I was folding laundry, I was mopping the floor in a hospital setting, which is not pretty. And I got to take attendance at a business meeting. And, you just do the best you can at each of the tasks you're assigned above and beyond what the call of duty is. And eventually people either notice or you feel like you've given your all and then some. And that's what evolved into a conversation about legacy and impact and driving business solutions that can ultimately positively impact the world.
So I use the river analogy a lot, and I'm not sure if you've ever heard me say that in a podcast, but I say, you put yourself in this river and you don't know where you're going to go ultimately, I feel like in life, right, to a certain extent. And you can fight it and go upstream, right, which is never comfortable. You can stand there and have the water just keep hitting your back, which is also not necessarily comfortable. Or you can kind of go with it and see where life takes you. And I feel like when you do that, it unfolds so much more beautifully and more magically than you could have ever imagined for yourself.
Agreed. And I think a couple things. It really helps to have a plan. So I think
True.
we're tracking against a 10-year plan that we break down into sub years. And also when you are flowing through the river, the boulder hits and you get stuck on a branch. And I think,
Yes.
sometimes people will look at me and say, like, you haven't had challenges. And, not everyone broadcasts their challenges, or it's private. And so um, really tough things happen when you're an entrepreneur, when you're navigating business, when you're navigating life, really hard things. And it happens to everyone at some point. And you get to decide, I'm flowing down the river and you hit a boulder, you hit a branch, how can I find the silver lining? How can I find the cup half full? How can I turn this into a gift for someone else? How can I try to build solutions that make my own life and my family's life better? And also hopefully impact the world and make it easier for other people to flow down the river without bumping into a boulder.
Yeah, no, I love that. And thank you for putting that in the mix too, because my boulder was my grandpa passing away. So that's how I noticed I was in the river and had this huge, obviously, career path change from television into finance, which I never would have planned for myself. But you're so right, because there are boulders and sticks and wind and different factors in the element too, by all means. And I think how you learn and grow from it is you just keep moving forward. And I'm grateful that you said that, because I feel like that also goes back to the I'm not sitting on the couch eating bonbons, right? I am active. I am trying to make a difference. I'm doing things too. I'm not just, floating on with a koozie by any means.
Yes, and an example of that would be, when my boss initially took a chance on me, and that's what eventually evolved into the Global Good Fund. I was on a career trajectory from a leadership perspective in healthcare, which is an established industry. There are financial benefits to staying on a strong foundation career path. And he said, let me get this straight. You want to take a leap of faith and create a startup impact ecosystem, startup nonprofit with no benefits, no guaranteed income to impact the world. And he asked me, he said, what's your financial life plan? And I was 25. I didn't even know what he was talking about. And he sat me down with a stack of napkins. And we not only did we work out a business plan for the organization, for the startup business, but we also worked on my own financial life plan because I had life goals and I was ambitious, and not all of it was career focused. A lot of it was personal. And how was I going to get there financially, taking this kind of chance to go with the flow a little bit? When I thought healthcare will always be there, but what about this chance to impact the world through the Global Good Fund? What did that mean for me personally from a financial security standpoint, and how would I plan for that? That thought had honestly never crossed my mind until my mentor suggested I think about it.
And you went with it, which is beautiful.
I did. We wrote on a stack of napkins what my life goals were, and they were things as simple as travel or continued learning or trying to be a philanthropist longer term or having children, which is not so simple, or pursuing different communities of faith or learning or different cultural traditions and what that would cost financially to allocate time to do those things, to embrace certain experiences. I had not thought about it from a financial cost standpoint. I just thought, yes, these are things I want to do with my life, but breaking it down by age, by time frame, by cost, that was the first time I tried that exercise.
You are listening to the Platinum Talks Wealth Podcast.
Hey, it's Jennifer. I wanted to take a quick break to remind you that you are worthy to have a seat at the table when it comes to money and your finances. We, both me and my team at Platinum Wealth Management, want to meet you where you are, whether you're starting out, starting over, or have been investing for years. Reach out to us at platinumwealth.net or call us at 775-717-0001. We'd be honored to help.
And now, back to the podcast.
And I actually look back on it every 6 months for the last almost 20 years now. And I can move things around by time frame, but that overall plan, that's what I want my life to be about. And that's how I know it's enough. And that's how I manage our finances.
No, that's huge. And I feel like planning is so important. Granted, planning, but being able to pivot as necessary,
Totally.
right, is huge.
Yes.
But having, even in financial plans, when we're doing those, right, same thing. You have all these elements, but you also want to think ahead of if you get an inheritance, if someone passes, what that looks like, the family dynamic. I mean, so many different things that are the pivots in life because we can't plan it perfectly.
No, life does not go according to plan.
Yeah, not ever. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. So another thing we talk about in the podcast are money memories. What's a money memory that you have from childhood or younger years that helped molded your relationship to money now as an adult?
I grew up in a family that is, I would call thoughtfully frugal. We did not waste money in my family, and we were extremely thoughtful about every financial decision. And what that looked like was driving to the gas station that was a little farther away because the cost per gallon was less expensive. It looked like timing when we went out to a family dinner, which was infrequent, based on when the best deals were happening at the restaurant of my parents' choosing, for kids to eat free that night of the week or whatever it may be. If we went to an excursion like the movie theater, we didn't buy a bunch of food at the theater. And it came with some really great positive memories around being very mindful of living within one's means and being very strategic about saving for the future. And I think the flip side of that was sometimes it's just, if we can, just enjoy the moment and live in the moment. And my husband's helpful about that with me today, where my natural inclination still is to not treat ourselves sometimes or treat our children because, being frugal is what's been drilled into me. And sometimes it's wonderful to buy a bag of popcorn at the movie theater.
I love that though. Thoughtfully frugal, I feel like should be on a t-shirt. Like that's so good.
My parents would be thrilled to hear you say that.
That's so good. Well, another thing we talk through are financial infidelities. What's a financial infidelity that you've experienced or that you've witnessed that you think others could learn from?
One challenge that I've faced and watched others face who come from the impact sector. So if you're thinking about different business sectors, there's this consistency to a scarcity mindset. So this idea that we cannot spend money. We just under no circumstances should be spending money. And that mindset will actually get us in trouble if we're unwilling to spend money where it strategically matters. So being thoughtfully frugal, again, is a wonderful thing. And sometimes it takes spending money to earn money. That is still hard for me to this day. Sometimes you have to invest in experiences or education or learning or people, whatever it might be, to grow. And that is just so contrary to what I've grown up being taught. And also, not knowing where the next money will come from. And so that's been something when you have a scarcity mindset, wanting to know where every dollar and cent is going to come from, holds us back in taking risk, specifically from the impact sector. And if you want to grow, if you want to have impact, sometimes you have to take risks and not always act from a scarcity mindset, not act frugally, and act like because we're spending this money, it's going to show in the future to bring more money in,
Yeah,
particularly in a social impact sector.
that's a beautiful point. I feel like that goes back to, investing in yourself, right? Being able to 10 times yourself so you can give more, do more, and earn more. So it attracts completely, I feel like that way. But no, same. Like I look at people who are like, oh, I can't, take that class, or I can't learn this experience, even though it would be wildly valuable for them to just, learn more, do more, be able to give more all in the same process.
Absolutely. And it comes down to, investing in ourselves as high potential leaders, whatever that means in our own settings, and knowing that when we invest in ourselves, that growth in ourselves will have a ripple effect in whatever we touch.
Yeah, beautifully put. Beautifully put. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all this goodness. And as we start to wrap the conversation, I always like to ask, tell me some tips and or tricks that you personally use to utilize money differently in your own household.
We are serious about investing in the growth of each person. And so that doesn't mean waiting until going off to university or college, should that be the case. It means when our children are really little, and it means that mom gets to do that while raising children. And so an example of that for me personally would be I really wanted to learn about corporate governance for women. And I thought that was an important household expense because it made me more marketable as a corporate board member. And that was ultimately beneficial for our family. I had to explain that to my better half and explain that the time to invest in this course and money to invest in the course was meaningful for our family. And here's why. And he ultimately very much supported me on that. And it fast forward resulted in a corporate board seat at a health system. So I've been able to do something in a professional capacity and a personal capacity that really matters to me, hopefully impacts the world and is good for our family too. From a children, when we think about my husband or our children, I think a lot of it comes down to experiences, and that learning in our family doesn't only happen in a academic or school setting. And so we really try to strategically invest in family experiences where we can create shared memories together, and also personal experiences either for each family member or one-offs that are together that are more routine, but not every single family member, where maybe it's an extracurricular activity or a course or an adventure that grows who we are as a whole person without having an immediate cost benefit analysis. But we believe that in the long-term horizon, this will create a better human being.
Well, and what a great gift for your kids to be able to see you investing in yourself, but then also these experiences that I feel we do something similar in my own household, but they're priceless. You're creating these memories that are learned lifetime experiences that hopefully they'll take with them into adulthood themselves, but also seeing how mom is navigating and also taking care of herself to make herself even better to keep learning.
Put our own oxygen mask on first, right?
Always, always. I love that statement because then you can help others significantly more. Love that.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I appreciate you sharing this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, hopefully those of you watching and or listening will join us on the next Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, Platinum Talks Wealth, please subscribe and share. For more information about Jennifer Rogers Markwell or Platinum Wealth Management, please visit www.platinumwealth.net. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The guest speakers and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Platinum Wealth Management.